Sorry.
All right, I should have checked. All right, so we're talking about the agenda item 2 minutes from the April 28th meeting. Does anybody have any edits or comments on the last minutes?
And
Okay, seeing that there is no edits, we will accept the minutes as they were written. And next item would be the election of vice chair. So I'm going to open the floor to nominations for anyone interested in nominating someone to be vice chair. Charles?
I nominate our current vice chair, Don Knorr.
I second Don's nomination.
Okay, we have a nomination for Don Knorr and a second. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? I'm not hearing any, so we will move to vote.
And just for the record, Don did email Ben
Yes.
indicating his interest in this.
Yes,
Yes.
good point.
Otherwise, we wouldn't nominate him to a position that he would want.
Yeah, that's an important note that he did offer his willingness to be vice chair again.
Even though he couldn't be here tonight.
Yeah. So we vote, right, on that? All those in favor of electing Don Knorr as vice chair of the Public Works Committee, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, say nay. So it passes. Don Knorr will be our vice chair for the Public Works Committee. Next item is member for the Water Resources Management Commission. So this has been a liaison between this committee and the Water Resources Management Commission. I think Don Knorr has been our current one, and again, his willingness to continue on. So do we need to do a nomination, or could we, how do we want to handle that?
You certainly can nominate, or like, I think it's more of a recommended member, so.
So who are we recommending? And that's, that would be a nomination.
We would vote again?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I would move to recommend Don Knorr as our continuing liaison to the Water Resources Management Commission.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I will just add that Don offered his willingness again. Are there any other nominations for this liaison member? No? All right, seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of recommending Don Knorr as the Water Resources Management Commission liaison, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? So the motion passes. We will recommend Don Knorr as the liaison to Water Resources Management. All right, next item is Conservancy Lands Committee. We are also needing a liaison between Public Works and Conservancy Lands Committee. I've had this role for a short amount of time. Charles has been in that role longer, currently serving as that member. Do we have any motion or a discussion?
So I'd actually move to defer consideration of this item until we have the full committee present. Necessary, I can continue on in this role, but as an older and parent of young children, my adding an additional committee to my workload is going to be substantial. I believe Mary has a scheduling conflict on Wednesdays, which was
The first Wednesday of
the
every.
first Wednesday.
So if this is the last Wednesday, I could do it. If you needed someone, I'm interested in it. I can volunteer myself for that. The first Wednesday of every month I have it.
Yeah, if you want to do it, but I can't continue on in that role with my current
Yeah.
committee and city council workload.
Do you know if there is a conflict with your schedule?
It's not a conflict.
It's not a
It's the
conflict?
last Wednesday of every month,
Okay,
right?
Fourth
Is that-
Wednesday.
Or the fourth Wednesday? Yeah, that wouldn't be.
I don't remember what time.
They are one of the 5 o'clock.
Yeah, because I want to say that was a 5 o'clock, which is why I couldn't serve.
That would work for my schedule too.
Okay.
I could do that.
But yeah, we can defer until the full committees.
Maybe
Yeah,
that's 6.
They meet at 6.
yeah. Yeah, so we could actually defer this until the full committee is present.
okay.
If because we would meet,
We'll meet on the 23rd.
yeah, we meet on the 23rd, and then this would meet on that Wednesday. So
Okay, so we will take no action on this item at this time.
Okay.
And then we can just put it on our agenda for next meeting.
Do we need someone to second your motion to
To defer.
defer?
probably,
Sure, I will second your
Yeah.
deferral motion.
Any further discussion on that? I suppose we need to vote then if we have a motion. So all those in favor of deferring, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion passes, so we will defer it. Put this on our agenda for the next meeting. Okay. Our next agenda item is water utility consumer confidence report. Ben, do you want to give us a little background on that?
Yeah, we actually have Mike Meyer, our water utility manager, who is gonna kind of give a brief overview, but the attached draft report is included in your packet. And this report will get distributed with the next utility bill and it'll get posted on the city website, which is a requirement of the DNR. Mike, do you want to give any other background or info on it?
I'm sure this is an annual report. It's done every year. Every water utility has to do this and also submit it to public and circulate it and also provide proof of circulation to the DNR. So it is our annual report and we don't have any major corrections or issues. I think, as you guys know or don't know, being that some of you are new and on this committee, and congratulations to you, by the way. We had the water utility underwent a 3-year sanitary survey this last summer and early spring. And basically, the DNR comes through and with a fine-tooth comb, they go through every well house, water tower, every water utility facility and point out any corrections that need to be made. And there were several deficiencies. 2 of them they considered were major, and they gave us a timeline to have those done by July 1st. We were able to take care of those way before the deadline was July 1st. So those are some things that are mentioned. The other thing is the lead service line inventory, which is an ongoing issue. I've spoken about it openly that basically it was an information collection of over 48,000 answers to the federal government that I needed to come up with, and I had failed. I was here for like a year and 2 months when that was due. Previously, there was 3 years allotted for that, and I could not find anything from my predecessors that would have perhaps got me way further in this game. However, I'm extremely happy to tell you all that we do have an initial inventory that is now accepted by the DNR. It is under review yet, but at least it didn't get kicked back instantly saying, you got to correct this, 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 and this. So this is a huge undertaking, a lot of staff, a lot of moving parts to try to get this 50,000-ish question report done. So it's a huge weight off our shoulders currently, but there is still more to come with the whole service line inventory. Otherwise, basically, the city water utility, all of our drinking water standards, we all fall in line. We don't have any outstanding issues with falling out of ranges of acceptance. So that's always a good thing, obviously, contaminant wise. There are things we're always monitoring for. If people are interested, they can look up the right through the DNR. They can go right on and see every test that is taken and we submit to the DNR. I can't mention them all because there's hundreds, if not thousands of them that we supply to them. But if people are inclined, they can look that up through the DNR, as well as some of them that are mentioned in this report. So um, it's a lot of the major issues. Obviously, PFAS is something we're going to continue to monitor. That's always an ongoing thing that every municipality is, largely focused on right now. And of course, the lead service line material is another thing, which is like basically what I had just talked about. So those are our major things that we're working on, as well as all the other stuff that has to be kept up to date.
So the lead service line inventory, you said that inventory has been completed now, or just like, can you clarify that a little bit?
So the initial report had to be filled out in a certain format. The report was accepted by the DNR for the initial. There's several timelines of requirements. This timeline was to basically submit that we have an understanding of where the city is at as far as all of its services, and an accepted answer was unknown. We do have several unknowns, even though we know indefinitely the city maintains that we are unaware of any lead services to date. We cannot find records of them. We have not heard of their existence. Even in Sean Stowski's time, I personally have been here collaboratively for over 20 years now. I have never heard of a single one. With all the street reconstructions, all the digging repairs that the water utility has also done itself. We've never seen a lead service line. The problem is we have to be able to prove it indefinitely, and that's where we've met this first criteria and come up with our unknowns. So now we have another 2 years to figure out what those unknowns actually are and back it up with data that proves that they are not lead, which we are 99.9% confident that they are not lead. However, it's going through the as-built, the plans, all that sort of stuff. And that is extremely time consuming, as you can imagine. And that is basically where we're at with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, Mike, I just wanted to thank you for the work that you've put in on this and getting the water utility into compliance after those initial reports. I know just how much work you put in. And you've patiently explained it to this committee several times now. So thank
Yeah.
you.
I appreciate the acknowledgement because I'm not gonna lie, it's been quite stressful. And Ben knows and everybody else that I've been working with, we've all been working to get to an accepted level. Given that we were given less than a quarter of the allotted time to come up with those answers. So thank you.
So Chair, we're looking for the committee recommend approval of the report.
Okay, do we have a motion?
This is Madden. I'll move the recommendation for approval of the report for distribution.
I'll second that. We have a motion to recommend approval and a second. Is there any further discussion?
And just to be clear, we're doing this in our capacity as the board of directors for the water utility.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that.
No further discussion, so we will vote. All those in favor of recommending approval of the report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you, Mike.
He's
Thank you.
He'll be next too? Okay.
He's up
Yeah.
next.
All right. Item 7 is resolution approving sewer utility 2024 compliance maintenance annual report.
My spring is a lot of fun. It's a lot of big reports. So it's just like what we went over with the water side of things, this is the sanitary sewer side of things that the DNR is annually recording and reporting on. So as you can see, everything is filled out. We've maintained an A grade, which is obviously very good. As long as we continue our commitments in all categories that are selected as far as televising, cleaning, maintenance of the sewer utility, as well as the lift stations. That is basically what this is all about. And it will need a resolute number for resolution. But other than that, it's honestly one of the nicer reports for me to fill out through the DNR. So
Okay. So we're looking for a recommendation to Common Council adoption of the enclosed resolution.
That's correct.
correct.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to recommend Common Council adoption of the enclosed resolution. Any further discussion?
Myers, just once again, we're acting in our capacity as the board of directors for the water utility when we're doing this. And also, I'd just like to congratulate Mike and all of our water utility workers for another A grade. It's really remarkable what you all have managed to accomplish there over the years. We're lucky to have a water utility and a sewer utility that are both excellent stewards and forward-thinking stewards of physical facilities, but also excellent financial stewards for our city's ratepayers.
Thank you.
If there's no further discussion, we will vote. All those in favor of recommending adoption to the Common Council, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Next item is consideration, discussion, and possible action on well number 5 and number 7 rehab bid awards.
And I'll just go with this one too. I'm popular tonight. So wells 5 and 7, well 5 for all the newcomers out there, is due for rehab. Well 5 has gotten away with less intensive rehabs in the past. However, through upbringing of standards and specifications through the DNR, once we started looking at rehab for well 5, it just snowball affected. Generally, when we look at a rehab of a facility, we're looking at a couple 100,000. This one's turned into a couple hundred, or a couple hundred, sorry, excuse me, not a couple hundred. Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
Do you just want to give a brief, like, layman's terms of what a rehab of a well looks like?
Sure, absolutely. So the rehab of a well would be you have a motor that sits above ground, and there are shafts hanging hundreds of feet down into the ground with an impeller. That motor fires up, runs the impeller down to the ground, bringing the water up for pumping it into the distribution system. Before it gets to the system, though, it goes through chemical treatment, iron removal, all our processing, and then into the distribution system. Well 5 is unique. Well 5 has iron remover filters. So there's two giant tanks laying on the ground. They're horizontal, and they're giant mediate filled tanks to filter your water for iron. Those filters, along with the room that they are housed in, which is separate from the well house, and the well pump room, as well as a separate chemical room. The DNR with this rehab is requiring, with the treatment of fluoride and chlorine, those chemicals are no longer allowed to be stored together. So we have to build a separate room to separate those chemicals, running HVAC, electrical, plumbing, just a whole lot of things, moving parts when a rehab happens. So the whole pump motor comes off. The shafts will all get pulled and checked for corrosion. The interior piping and grouting that lines that well down to the ground that the shaft and the impeller sleeve down into, the screen at the bottom that also filters to, protect the impeller. All that gets inspected, cleaned, shocked if it need be. Um, then that's just on the pump side of things. We look at the chemical room, as I mentioned, DNR's requirements in creating a separate room to split chemicals. Our filter room, as far as media and the iron removal. There's a lot of moving parts with well 5 and its rehab, as quickly as I could break that down. Hope that's good.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Charles.
Keep looking at the screen because I'm so used to you being virtual. Uh, um, so, Mike, the staff recommendation was CTW Corporation, and one of the recommendations from Strand was that the city consider evaluating CTW Corporation's financial status prior to the award. Is that something that we did?
We do have CTW's records of, they sent over an entire litany of things. So yes, we did. And they are equipped as well as financially responsible for a project of this magnitude. And as you see, well 7 is also a part of this. If you'd like me to do a quick review of the well 7 part of this.
Please do.
So with this bid, this is just a portion of the well 5 rehab. The motor, the internals, the inspection of cleaning, test pumping, figure out where we're at with our equipment that we currently have at well 5. Well 7 is in Stonefield. Well 7's been capped for like 30-ish years. Well 7 was drilled twice. The first time it was drilled crooked. So the city did not accept it. So the company, and I do not know the company, forgive me, they had to come back and re-drill it, which was incredibly smart because right now to drill a well is a couple $1 million. Back then, I think it was probably under 100,000 if I had to guess. So well 7 has been sitting dormant in Stonefield for almost 30 years. The water utility and the demands of the city and the growth has started the ball rolling with getting some test pumping done at well 7, which the DNR is required, figuring out its chemical composition, what it will need for filtration needs, what it will need for chemical treatment needs, just what we're looking to deal with overall as we do develop the new and upcoming well 7 building facility. So CTW, because well 7 is literally right around the corner from well 5, it made sense to have CTW or whoever the winning bidder was of this project while they were here, because the equipment's already going to be here, to have them take on both of those facilities for this portion of the project.
This portion of the project to get well 7 back online, is that what you're?
So well 7 has never been online. Well 7 is strictly, if you go to Stonefield, it's literally just a cap in a yard. That's all it is. There's nothing else. It was drilled, it was cased. So basically, for future development, we could design a building, um, hang the motor, hang the shaft, the impeller, and then do all the pumping. Well 7 has never been actually in service.
But the goal is to get it back or get it into service set some
Correct.
in the future.
Yep, that with our facilities, and our review that we went over, both sanitary side of things and water side of things, as well as the city's, oh, what am I? It's in the city's goal or NR 854, which is what we're working on right now with Strand, is a report that we have to supply the DNR that says, the city water utility can meet the demands of the city's needs as well as future goals and needs. With the growth of the city is obviously need for more water supply. So that is what is driving the Well 7 project, as well as our Well 4, which was rehabbed a few years ago. It is shown deterioration and it is quite old. It is getting towards the end of its life. Roughly, a well would have like a 70 to 100-year lifespan. And as I understand it, Well 4 is kind of on its last leg, hence bringing up the development for a new Well 7 because of its establishment already. It's not, in all honesty, with the growth of the city and the direction it's gone, it's not maybe in the best part of the city location wise, but it also plays a huge role in meeting the supply and demand for city needs. So basically it's already there, saves us a couple $1 million right off the bat. Um, that's what we need to pursue regardless of maybe our agreement or disagreement in location. It all enters the distribution the same and gets pushed out. So um, but I know in the future we're gonna need to look north of this city. Um, but that's quite a ways out. This will get us to our projected goals and future growth of the city for like the next 20 plus years, which is obviously very important.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking something along the lines of north of the city as well. So but I think that would be a separate conversation outside of this meeting, but I was kind of wondering about that too.
Correct. And it's not on here, but like when we've discussed or seen projections for the Northern Loop, that's kind of always relative and honestly a huge goal of mine personally to see through. That I think will kind of set the future for where that after the Well 7 project, where that Well 9 probably would be. Um, but that's quite a ways out. But we're always planning.
So for this agenda item, we're looking for a motion to recommend awarding the bid.
Correct.
Correct. If sorry, I don't know if you're asking or if that's, but
Uh,
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I can make that motion. I move that the committee recommend awarding the bid for the scope of work at wells 5 and 7 to the CTW Corp.
And, sorry.
You can second.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask if that motion was to recommend to finance and personnel and common council. All,
Ye-
all of those things.
If it's supposed to be recommending to them, yes.
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not written that way, but yeah, you're right. Normally we would recommend. Okay.
Well, then I will second that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of recommending to Finance and Common Council award of the bid, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. And I just want to pause for a second because there's other people in the room, and if you wanted to speak on any of these topics, just raise your hand or make yourself known so I know to call on you. So I probably should have said that earlier. Next item is consideration, discussion, and possible action on North High Point traffic calming project.
Yeah, I'll start with this one, and we have Tom, our engineering technician, who kind of the project manager for that. So in your packet, you'll see we received 3 bids for the traffic calming project on North High Point Road that all exceed the budgeted amount. So staff are seeking guidance from the committee on next steps to either rebid this project with the plan of construction in later this year, likely August or September timeframe for construction, or postpone until 2026. The idea there being increase the project budget as part of the 2026 budget process for bid in early 2026. I think if we rebid in 2025, there's still a possibility that the bids will come in over budget, but by the end, that'll be wrapping up the end of construction season for road projects. So there's a potential for surplus in other road projects that we could do a budget transfer to move that money. Or if we move it to 2026, we could budget a little more realistically based on concrete prices, et cetera, for that year. And Tom is kind of our designer and overseeing this project, so can probably answer any questions specific to it.
Okay.
Residents are for this. You want to speak on it? Yeah.
I'm sorry, you want to speak on behalf of the project? Yeah, can I close this? It's a little noisy out here.
Actually,
No.
it needs to stay open.
It needs to stay open.
What's that?
It does.
Stay open.
It does?
It does for open meetings.
Oh, okay. I'm Bill Huxham. I'm one of the members of the committee that worked with the city to get this approved a year ago. Hey. And of course, as you know, why it the bid came in well over budget. I think it's the situation's not getting any better. If anything, it's getting worse. I'm retired. I happen to do my treadmill in the early afternoon in my basement, looking out my basement window, and traffic, it's getting heavier and faster. Just in the last year. But anyway, I think it's important to the committee. I'm the chair of the committee, and Jared was on the committee as well. And it's important to us to do what we can do to get it done this year. We've been trying to get some stuff done on High Point Road for a long time, years, and anything that's been done in the past has not helped. It's just been the police have been there and they've done their job, and the speed trailer with the sign flashing the speeds and stuff, it doesn't matter. No matter what the city has tried to do, and they've tried to do a lot, including a citizens academy or something like that, where some of us went through a police academy years ago, and local classes here, and then some of us just kind of got schooled on radar guns and took readings of speeds, turned them into the police department. I mean, there's been a lot done. So it's just, as I said, I don't want to take up any more of your time. It's just very important for us to get it done this year. We were of the impression that it was going to get done this year, and then it comes in way over budget. So that's all we've got to say. You want to say anything?
Yeah, and the only other thing is when we were reviewing the numbers, it didn't seem like they were high necessarily. It was just more than what was budgeted. So for
Can you state your name?
oh, sorry, Jared Vincent. I live on High Point Road. That was part of the committee. So when we met, we reviewed the 3 bids that came in, and then looking at past projects, it seems like for the scope of the work, the numbers that came, the 3 bids they weren't, they didn't seem like they were really high. They seemed like they were in line with the work that was being proposed. Not sure where the initial budget number came from, but discussing the past projects and then looking at what was that's what it seemed.
Thank you. Anybody else from any more discussion? Charles, chair recognizes.
Mary had her hand raised
Oh.
ahead of me.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
have a question, I guess. In the general like public works budget, is there something earmarked for traffic calming like that's can be applied per year, like financial year?
Probably not to this scale.
Okay.
So the project budget for this time was
35.
35,000.
Okay.
So right for in our operational budget, we do budget for traffic calming things, but more signage and things like that. Not
Okay.
this is more concrete work and
Yeah.
actual physical changes to the roadway. And I think things like an RFB, which is right that flashing sign. So right, no, we don't have kind of an earmarked for every year for traffic. It's kind of as an as needed thing as things develop.
Chair recognizes Charles.
Yeah, so I don't think putting this off another year is going to get us where we want to be in terms of traffic calming in Middleton. We have the Pheasant Branch Road area that is going to have at a minimum a study and possibly some work coming out of that study that will be included in the budget we recommend to finance and personnel this year. We have the downtown Elmwood Hubbard traffic calming, particularly near where Bristol intersects, based on resident interest. We have a handful of other hotspots in the city, and we have the leading pedestrian interval phase in, which we will be beginning. Those are all going to cost money, and they're all going to be competing with this. So if we want to do this, this is the year to do it, because if it's in next year's budget, it's going to be fighting against all of those projects. And while we may personally recommend it, we can't guarantee that it will make it through finance and personnel intact with that order of preference, particularly given the interest in leading pedestrian intervals. I can see those getting prioritized over this fairly quickly. So I guess the real question for us is, do we want to take one of these bids, or do we want to wait until the end of the construction season and see if we have an option that's cheaper? But and Tom could probably speak to this better than I can, but that's a risk, because at the end of construction season, crews tend to be booked out. So we might have a little more money, but we may also be looking at a bill in the 75,000 plus range, because we're paying a labor premium now to get in on schedule.
Well, the other option we'd have there is that there are some businesses that are looking for late fall work, maybe September, October time work. So they'd probably give us a little better deal on it. The second thing I think both or all three of my companies were concerned about was keeping the roadway open to traffic during the construction period.
Mhm.
Because it's basically a 40-foot wide road. When you take out half of it each time, you're down to 2 10-foot driving lanes. And both of the companies were very concerned about that. Normally they want to have at least a minimum of 11 feet. But what we probably could do on that is just close it to local traffic only. So close it on Terrace Avenue, close it at Greenway Boulevard, and just have locals only. So then they could keep a 10-foot wide driving lane open for those people. So that would not be a bigger factor too there. But so that could be, we could hope for the lower price come fall, or like you said, they could be booked out and we can't get them. that could be the discriminate, or you guys could decide what you want to do at that point in time. S&L Underground was probably the most proactive, and I think they came mid-range in there. The other two companies are technically sidewalk replacement companies, and they really cringe doing street work. S&L Underground is doing permanent street for us, and they would be roadworthy, let's say,
Okay.
put it in there. So if you're doing it, they would probably be a company we'd look at. Out of the three that we currently have, they're not the lowest, but they're probably the most qualified for the road construction.
Is that why they have such a high number for traffic control?
Mhm.
So if you were to rebid this, would you change anything about that?
Like like we said, we were trying to keep North High Point Road open to all traffic. But by closing it down and having it local traffic only, I think would lower the price. They don't, because what they'd have to do is put up the median dividers during the whole process. And then they have to take them all back down, move them over the other side. I think if we close it down to local traffic only, we don't have to do that.
How long do we think we'd have to keep that local traffic only closed?
The concrete portions of the work has to be high early concrete, so you're looking at 5 to 7 days after pour.
Okay.
And then once we switch over to the other side, 5 to 7 more days. So you're looking at 14 to 20 days of local traffic only.
I mean, I'm not opposed to rebidding if it means that the project's going to be done potentially this year. I mean, one of my very first public works meetings was, we discussed this and it was like, yeah, no, this is the budget item, this is what we're doing, and here we are a year plus later, still talking about it and wanting to do it. You guys have put in a yeoman's amount of effort to try to get this done, and I want to recognize that. And I don't want you to have to wait, again, for another budget cycle, especially considering everything that Charles, we know what's coming down the pike budget wise, and having to make those budget priorities in the meetings that are coming up, so much sooner than I want it. I'd like to see it rebid and try to get it done this year.
Yeah, I don't think anybody here is willing to defer it another year.
Okay, so we'll rebid it, probably coming back late July, early August with a new price, and take it from there.
Great, thank you. Do we need a motion or just a
Yeah,
recommendation?
that's what I was wondering. What do we want out of the committee here?
I don't think formal action is needed.
Okay.
I'm just looking for
Looking for
direction.
direction here.
Okay.
So
No action required.
Formal action will come in late July, early August.
Great,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you for coming tonight.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, and Ben, if you could talk to Bill. Because this is going to be over budget.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's-
yep. Yeah, already
What-
noted
There's a
where we're
likelihood
gonna
that we can
right,
find it.
right,
Yeah.
It can happen.
yeah, at a minimum, probably need 45,000, so. I'm hopeful, right, if it's towards the end of the season, we can have some savings in other construction projects that could fund it.
That's what I'm hopeful for too.
Yeah, if
I think-
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, and there's a good case to be made. I mean, they did everything that they were supposed to do, dotted all the i's, crossed all the t's.
Yeah. And not only that, but their neighborhood traffic management process really showed some impressive 80th percentile speeds on that road.
Yeah, no, I come up and down that road all the time. And it's most of the time on a bicycle, which if you're even with a bike lane, not feeling great about it all the time. So
Yeah, that-
I'm all in favor for that, for multiple transportation issues.
Okay, I think we can move on to the next agenda item, which is liaison briefings. We'll start with Charles for Conservancy Lands Committee.
I have no briefing.
Okay. Carrie's not here from Ped Bike and Transit.
Well, and again, to point out, we no longer have a liaison to the Ped Bike Transit Committee. So Ped Bike Transit sort of liaisonship, I suppose, falls to me. sort
Okay.
of in a non-official way. So update from there, we did not meet this month. There were not enough agenda items to meet. We are looking at the redoing the active transportation plan, which is going to be fun. Scott's promised there's going to be maps we can draw on, so I'm excited about that. They have requested that we do in the not too distant future a joint meeting. The idea was that we were going to have at least 2 of those per year, talking about leading pedestrian intervals, crosswalk signage, more discussion on green paint, which I know you're all thrilled about, but it's important. But yeah, that's probably the
Do you know when that group meeting or the meeting's gonna be where both groups are gonna be?
no, that's what we're gonna have to schedule.
Yeah.
Okay,
At some point, and we'll, staff will help us figure that out,
okay.
but it'll be part of the Public Works meeting, so we'll meet at there right before, right? You typically, when we've done it in the past, we met at the 6:30 time, had the joint meeting, and then broke off and then did another Public Works meeting, just Public Works directly after that.
And Don is also absent tonight to do water resources management, stormwater utility.
Luke, did you have anything?
Not really, no. All right, future meeting agenda items. I'll just go around the room. Barry, do you have any agenda items for the next Public Works meeting you'd like to discuss?
Can I ask a broad question about the interaction between the city and like commercial spaces with Public Works? I'm just curious, and I don't know, maybe this is more of a pet bike transit, and I'm trying to observe as much as I can with first meeting jitters, but like, for example, the parking lot on the corner of University and Park where like Willie Street Co-op is,
Mhm.
doesn't have like an entry point for pedestrians at all. Is that something that's been brought up? Is that technically Public Works, or would that be more head bike and transit? Like, as a pedestrian, there's no place for you to enter to get to the commercial area. If you have a stroller, for example,
Yeah,
there's that, and so we end up going through. This is just something I'm thinking about. I'm trying to contextualize something that I've experienced, and I don't know if that would be more of a Public Works access thing, or if that's more of pedestrian separate.
Where our 2 committees intersect.
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, that's a bit of both, right?
Because it's a commercial space, so I wasn't, and I'm sure, I don't know when it was built, probably in like in the decades ago even.
Yeah, if it's public right of way, it's where our 2 committees intersect. If
Okay.
it's private property, then it's actually, I think, Plan Commission. But we can't because of the way we've noticed this, we can't really discuss it further, but this would be a good topic for the pet bike transit joint
Okay.
meeting.
One, and other, just identifying other places in the city where there's
Yes.
conflict or where there's a lack of pedestrian access.
Yeah.
Because that's part of something that Scott Heacock is working on with the active transportation plan, where are the gaps in bicycle pedestrian access to businesses, to neighborhoods. Okay. But yeah, we'll put that on.
Yeah, and that does fit into a handful of other things that I know they want to discuss with us.
Yep.
So is that, I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have an agenda item to go over how citizens or members bring up issues that they want to address, because I think, Charles, you've done that before too.
Maybe.
Like I think it was like guardrails over by Cromery and,
Oh, yeah,
things. So I don't know if it goes on our agenda or if there's another way for somebody to bring up a new concern.
sure.
We could possibly have that as an agenda item. Maybe we'll
Structure of how we want people to report or.
Yes.
Nothing. Okay, yeah.
Charles, do you have any agenda items?
I'm gonna pass because I do, but I want to give my brain a few more seconds to formulate.
Kim?
Nope, just the joint ped bike transit committee meeting was my only, I want to do that, just bring it up and get it on the schedule sometime in the future.
I don't have anything. Ben, does anybody else? Do we open that up to anyone else?
Well, it's my turn again.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So for the 2026 budget process update,
Mhm.
the finance committee, believe would be receptive to additional road funding for public works. So I'd like for us to have a discussion of what roads are potentially low enough on the Pacer scale to bump up
Mm,
1 year in the event that the Finance and Personnel Committee decides to increase the funds available for public works for road maintenance for the first time in over a decade. And I'd also like for us to discuss in the context of our budget, prioritize how we're going to prioritize and safety improvements because, well, we get into because, but it will be an issue next year since we have a lot of improvements. And then staff.
Yeah, we had a few items we just wanted to kind of brief the committee on that we'll be bringing forward. Two developments, the Conservancy Bend Apartments and Castle Rock Development. Luke, do you want to just say what we're in?
Yeah, I can give a little background. Those are going to be the developers agreement for both those developments, the certified survey map, the CSM, and the plan approval for both those developments as well. Conservancy Bend is right next to the high school on Parmenter Street. Castle Rock is over on University Avenue. I guess just a little one note on each of them. We gave out the utility acceptance letters for Conservancy Bend. We had to give that up because they are constructing public utilities through their property. Basically, staff level made sure that they were following all regulations, giving us easements, had everything marked properly on their CSF. And then they give this letter we gave them to the DNR for the acceptance, saying we will take ownership of it. And the other note for Castle Rock is that they are going to be getting a zoning variance. The zoning variance. They haven't gotten that yet though. Their building is closer to the right of way than would be allowed by our code. They're getting a variance to address that.
So those will be on the next meeting agenda items to go over
That
that.
is the plan, yeah.
Okay.
They'll have everything ready. We'll review it internally at staff level and make sure it's all buttoned up, and then it'll be on the agenda.
And then two other items, like Charles mentioned, the 2026 budget process. So we're getting ready to kick that off. Right, we'll have a discussion on the streets budget and potentially if we were to increase that dollar figure, what streets you guys would like prioritized and timing. And then also at the request of Alder Lorman, the Orchid Heights neighborhood had discussed street lighting. So I think that is a neighborhood that was built in the 70s. They do not have street lights in the neighborhood. And I think it's been an on again, off again discussion. And so the next step would be for the Orchid Heights neighborhood to get polled, or sorry, a survey to be sent out. So Alder Lorman wanted to bring that back to this committee prior to sending out that survey. So that those are the two kind of outstanding agenda items that we've got.
did we ever get numbers on how much that Orchid Heights project would potentially cost? I know we had sent MG&E like, hey, there's the old plat of here's where we want to potentially put all those streetlights.
Yeah, so the rough estimate from MG&E is $420,000.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, is that it?
Yes.
Okay. So we've reached the end of our agenda, so we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Also, congratulations, your first meeting in under an hour.
Yep.
Hey,
Hey, that's a
that's
good-